Then Joe.
All righty. Thank you, everybody, for attending this conference regarding the tragic death investigation that occurred on February 25th of this year. Today, we will hear from Yakima police officials along with Yakima County Prosecutor's Office. I will introduce each speaker as they come up to the podium. We ask that you hold your questions until the last speaker has concluded. After our speakers have finished, we will open the floors to questions. First, we will hear from our Yakima Police Chief, Sean Boyle.
Greetings, and thank you for attending this press conference to discuss the ongoing investigation into the neglect and death which occurred on February 25th in the city of Yakima. Although we cannot provide details that are specific to the case, we will provide an overview of the officer's response and the initial steps of the investigation, as well as the apprehension of the suspect. Additional members of our organization and the criminal justice system will address specific portions and the legal process. The information provided today is what we know at this time and may be subject to change as the investigation continues. I want to start by thanking all the law enforcement officers, first responders, and numerous public and private organizations who have participated in this investigation. I commend the professionalism of all who have contributed to the investigation thus far. At about 7:24 a.m. on February 25th, Yakima police officers responded to a residence in the 300 block of North 4th Avenue. At the residence, they located a 7-month-old child that was deceased and a 2-year-old child who was showing signs of neglect. Medical professionals responded to the scene. The 2-year-old child was transported to Yakima Multi-Care for treatment and later transferred to Seattle for advanced medical care. Members of the Yakima Police Department's Criminal Investigations Division responded to take over. The investigation led to a person of interest in the crimes. The person of interest is the mother of the 2 children. While detectives conducted the investigation, the Yakima Police Department's proactive enforcement team, led by Sergeant Wisner, attempted to locate the suspect. With the help of the Yakima County Sheriff's Office, the suspect was located at a campground off Highway 410. It was in the county of Yakima. The suspect was arrested and transported to the Yakima Police Department. The suspect was later booked into the Yakima County Jail for multiple charges related to this incident. The investigation is ongoing, and we continue to work with the prosecutor's office and other local agencies and service providers. The event is tragic for all the involved families as well as our community. I appreciate the efforts of all law enforcement officers and first responders who work tirelessly to make our community safer and prevent these types of tragedies. Experiencing numerous traumatic calls for service and investigations can be impactful on first responders. The Yakima Police Department continually works to provide resources for our employees. Our agency is committed to working in partnership with the community to make it a safer place to live and work.
Thank you, Chief. And now we will hear from the Yakima Police Patrol Captain Jay Seeley regarding the collaborative patrol efforts that led to the arrest of the suspect.
Thank you, Yvette. I'm Captain Jay Seeley. I oversee the patrol division, which includes our PROAC unit. Our PROAC unit got involved in this case very early on, shortly after the call came into our dispatch center. They immediately started collaborating with our detectives, those detectives that were investigating this case, and they started developing probable cause and a suspect. And what's nice about having a PROAC unit is it allows the detectives to continue focus on processing the scene, gathering evidence, gathering facts, while the PROAC unit is out in the community looking for those individuals or individual responsible for the crime. And I'll have to tell you, these officers, they're very good at what they do, and they are relentless. In this case, they contacted associates, they contacted family members, they contacted anybody that may have information about this case or the location of Ms. Tolle. Their efforts paid off in the fact that a community member came forward, gave us a tip, and sent us up to Squaw Rock on Highway 410, the campground. So together with a YSO deputy, our PROAC unit went up there, went to the campground, located Ms. Tolle, and took her into custody. And I want to close with this. This is what it looks like when a community gets behind their police department. We had numerous tips, numerous phone calls. The community wanted to find Ms. Tolle as badly as we did, and thankfully their efforts paid off. And I tell you, we cherish that relationship, we value that relationship, and because of that relationship, we're able to find Ms. Tolle quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Now we will hear from Yakima Police Department's Criminal Investigations Division, Lieutenant Janice, regarding the investigation and the timeline.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Chad Janice, and I currently oversee our Criminal Investigative Division of the Yakima Police Department. As you can imagine, this is a robust and dynamic investigation that required numerous personnel, both within the Yakima Police Department, within the community, and of course, our partners at the Sheriff's Office. Our detectives immediately responded to the scene, led by Sergeant Yates to my left, who was in charge of our Special Assault Unit, and Sergeant Noah Johnson to my right, who was in charge of our Major Crimes Unit. The lead detective on the case is Detective DeLeon to my left, and he is leading this investigation, working with the prosecutor's office, all of our partners and detectives in the community. And so we responded to the scene as a collective group shortly after the report at about 7:30 in the morning. We immediately took over the investigative piece of the investigation, and thankfully PROACT was available to us to really work on the operational side out in the community. Our detectives, of course, worked with prosecutors going through the evidence that was at the scene, working with all of our other partners in the community to include the hospital where the 2-year-old child was transported to shortly after the event occurred. And then ultimately we're able to determine that there was a finding of probable cause and relayed that to our PROACT team, who made the arrest later in the day. While there's not a lot of information we're going to be able to tell the community about at this point regarding the evidence in the case, we can answer some questions, and we'll move into that section now.
Was she, I'm sorry.
We're going to hold questions until the end.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Now we will hear from Yakima County Prosecutor Joe Brusick regarding the prosecution and charges moving forward.
Thank you, Yvette. Thank you for everyone being here. This is truly tragic, and none of us want to be here for this reason, obviously. My name is Joe Brusick. I'm the Yakima County Prosecuting Attorney, and I was alerted to this case shortly after it happened. And I first want to thank as the community in the Yakima Police Department, as well as YSO, have done a fantastic job getting this case to our office for us to be able to make a charging decision already. And I want to compliment the Yakima Police Department with the efficiency and the skill and the competency that they engaged in this particular investigation after such a short time. It's hard to believe that this was merely hours ago that this came to light. And I want to compliment not just YPD, YSO, but also the community. It's incredible, the amount of information that has been gathered in the last 48 hours or so. I can tell you that we will vigorously prosecute this case. We will back up the investigation that the Yakima Police Department has engaged in, and we will back up the community uproar that I have seen personally on social media in the last 24 hours about this particular case. It is truly tragic and sad. And I shared with a number of you that within the last 45 minutes or so, we have formally filed a 5-count information against this particular defendant. Count 1, first-degree manslaughter, which is a Class A felony. Count 2, first-degree criminal mistreatment. And these are all domestic violence crimes. Count 3, family abandonment. The first 3 of the 5 counts deal with the tragic demise of the young 7-month-old little girl. The last 2 deal with the other child, the 2-year-old. Count 4 is first-degree criminal mistreatment, domestic violence, and finally count 5 is family abandonment, domestic violence. A myriad of cases, very seriously, and we took this very seriously immediately. We assisted with Detective DeLeon's search warrant process and getting and gathering information, and we believe that we will aggressively move forward on this particular case. It is absolutely horrific, and I just truly appreciate the community coming together like this and really energizing the Yakima Police Department to do what they did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brusick. At this time, we will open the floor for questions. We ask that you state your name and your media outlet. And out of respect for everyone's time, we will take one question from each outlet at a time, and we will have a roving mic so that you can be heard into the live stream. Don?
Okay.
1 second, we're gonna hand you the.
Don Myers, Yakima Herald Republic. Do we know if there was any contact from CPS with this family before, and if YPD had any contact with or without CPS with this family before?
So what we can say about we are actively working with our CPS partners on this investigation. We would ask you to contact CPS directly. On the back table, there is a contact for the DCYF personnel who will answer any questions that come out of this press conference. But what we can tell you is they're one of our community partners. We continue to have a relationship and then work with them on cases where appropriate. But we will not get into what's going on their end because that's not our investigation.
Emily Goodell, Apple Valley News Now. My question is, this person was also charged yesterday with several animal cruelty charges, and those charges stemmed from an incident that happened back on Christmas of 2023, and the SIR was completed on January 4th. And so my question is, why did it take over a year to charge that case?
I'll answer that. Yes, that is correct. Our office had received a referral for animal cruelty charges. And then tragically and unfortunately, I stand here to tell you that it was not charged out because of the attorney shortage and the lack of attorney credits that we have. And as you all know, over the last several years, we've had to make very difficult decisions as to charging decisions as we move forward. And this was a decision that was made within our office to not charge us out in lieu of potential other more serious charges. And obviously, there was no indication whatsoever that any event like this would take place. But I stand here to let you know that we did obviously pull that referral charge out accordingly. And what we have to do in the criminal justice system over the last couple of years, dealing with the attorney credits and the nature of the allegations that we get on a daily basis up and down the valley, have been very difficult on our office making decisions going forward. In terms of charging particular cases out or not charging them out. And because of that, we then charged it out yesterday in accordance with the fact that this was charged out too.
Hi, David Israel, Nonstop Local. Was the parent a single mother, or were there any other people responsible for the well-being of the children?
Brian. I'm going to bring up Sergeant Yates of our Special Assault Unit, whose unit is leading the investigation.
Hi, Sergeant Yates with Special Assault Unit. No other parents were in the home at the time.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Other questions from any other outlet that hasn't asked yet?
I have plenty of questions, so no one else has.
Emily, go ahead.
Okay. Emily Goodell again with Apple Valley News Now. A follow-up on his question. The probable cause statement did state that that a witness had reported seeing that there was a man who was living at that residence. Do we know who that man was and whether or not he had some sort of relationship with the mother of the children?
Okay, there was a lot of things said over the social media. Everything is being investigated. Everything's being looked at. Everything from social media is being thoroughly investigated, piece by piece, from the detectives. And as far as we know now is what I've said earlier about she lived alone with and took care of those children alone.
Any other questions? And then you have another one.
Emily Goodell, Apple Valley News Now. I had a general question. What is the police department's policy for when they refer a case or when they contact CPS, when they respond to any kind of call? Like what would trigger a police officer to contact Child Protective Services?
Just like any other mandatory report, it falls under the mandatory report law. If it's an emergent case, it's within 24 hours or an immediate call. And if it's a non-emergent case, it's within 72 hours of the event.
Matt's from KIT. Was she hiding? Was she hiding in the campground? Who was she with? Was she surprised when she was taken into custody?
Sergeant Wisner?
Yes, sir. Why did she go to the campground?
We found this tool at the Squaw Rock store adjacent to the campground. She had interacted with tenants of the campground. She was utilizing Wi-Fi from the store. She was given a passcode from a tenant who resides in a trailer. They did not know what was going on. She had a note on the back of her car asking for gas. We don't know what her plan was or where she wanted to go beyond Squaw Rock, but it was apparent that she was out of gas. So that was into her trip.
You didn't know where she was going. Do you believe that she was up at this campground hiding from what had happened, or was she just camping?
She was definitely not camping. She was in the vehicle that she left her residence in.
She ran out of gas.
And she ran out of gas.
And was there anyone with her?
She was by herself.
She was by herself. And you don't know where she was going. She's not said that?
She has not said where she was going. It was apparent to us and any reasonable person to believe that she was trying to get away from Yakima.
I'm gonna ask another question. I've already asked about 20, sorry. When was the last time anybody had any contact with the kids, or when was the last time she had contact with the kids?
I'd have to deviate away from that one, Matt. Sorry.
Okay.
We're not going to get into too much of the evidence to protect the integrity of both the prosecution side of this and the ongoing investigation that's still occurring. We do believe that there were attempts and people that were in the lives of the family. We don't have we're still developing an investigative timeline and confirming and corroborating information such as that.
Joe, county prosecutor, why not a tougher charge? Why not a second-degree murder charge?
Well, the charges that have been filed are based upon the current evidence as they exist now. And as indicated, we're not going to get into the evidence of the case, but these charges have been formally filed. If we ever determine that we can amend the charges, whatever that might be, either up or down from these particular ones, we will always look into that potentiality. But once again, a second-degree murder requires intent. And we have to be able to show beyond a reasonable doubt at trial, but also especially at the very beginning stages, probable cause for, in fact, the intent to cause the death of this child. And the reality is we're looking into all of this through this very robust investigation. And because of that, these are the charges that we believe we can support through probable cause with the court here in Yakima County right now.
Joe, in light of the charges you have filed, will your office be asking for a higher bail on Ms. Tolle?
We're in the process of having that exact discussion right now. Bail is set for the one charge, obviously this case at $20,000 and $5,000 on the other. And obviously, my opinion is that's too low, but it is the discretion of the court to set bail after hearing the initial probable cause information as submitted through the investigation of the Yakima Police Department. But we will be reviewing that, yes. Her arraignment date is scheduled for March 12th.
Thank you, everybody, for being in attendance. Out of respect for everyone's time, we'll conclude here. If there's any follow-up questions, you can see the Public Information Office. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I will hand the microphone back on.
Oh, yeah.